Hi everybody, Andrew Hutchinson here, and in today's video I'm going to be doing another set of book reviews for my channel, The Book Hutch. These are 5 memoirs that I have read over the last couple months. They all came across my path while doing my job as a librarian, and so therefore I wanted to rate them and recommend them to anyone out there who might be watching this. If any of them pique your interest, definitely check them out from your local library, or hey, order them on Amazon. Or even go to a local bookstore once the coronavirus has passed and everything starts opening back up again. No matter what, I'm all for supporting libraries as well as the authors who wrote these books, and in this instance wrote them about themselves. So let's go ahead and start diving into the review. So the first book I want to discuss is Beautiful on the Outside by Adam Rippon. And if any of you don't know who Adam Rippon is, I highly suggest you look him up. He has a phenomenal YouTube channel, and he also does more and more jobs in the entertainment industry. He was on Dancing with the Stars, but before that, he is most known for being a world-famous figure skater. He is insanely talented, and he was in the last Winter Olympics representing the United States, in which the U.S. team, I believe, walked away with a bronze medal. So I was so proud of them. I was watching throughout the entire Olympics. I have a soft spot for ice skating. I watch it if I ever need to cry because it's just so beautiful to me, and Adam's skating is no exception. His long form skate where he skates to Coldplay at the Olympics just makes me cry every time I watch it. And so not only did I know he had that emotional side to him, but he's also hilarious. And so going into his book, I was really curious to see how he would balance that and whether or not his humor would translate to the page, because sometimes it's hard for people to express their humor written out. It does. He wrote one funny book and also incredibly touching. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was so well written. I laughed more than I can even explain. And his stories are all relevant to his journey to the Olympics. They're all connecting into how he got to the Olympics, even when sometimes he didn't think he would. And that once he got to the Olympics, he made it into what he wanted to make it. And then afterwards, he is continuing to work incredibly hard in his life. I not only left the book feeling like I knew him a lot better, but also I felt personally inspired, and I felt that it was a good reminder that I am capable of more than I think I am. And I think Adam really helps all of us who've read his book remind ourselves that. And so even if you don't know who he is, I would highly recommend getting this book. It is absolutely hysterical and also really touching. And so like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely recommend it. The next book I want to discuss is Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. So if anyone is a fan of Queer Eye, Jonathan, as we know, is just such a character. I loved reading his work, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The only reason it wasn't a little higher is kind of like Adam's instance. Adam writes like he talks, and so does Jonathan. But in Jonathan's voice, sometimes things can jump around a little bit. He's a very hyperactive person. He's filled with joy, and that's what we love about him. But sometimes when I was reading his book, I got a little bit lost as to what story he was telling and why, even though they were all entertaining, if that makes sense. So his book was very enjoyable to read, and his vulnerability is out of this world. He shares stuff that I am shocked he decided to put out there. And I'm so thankful he did, because it's really going to help people understand him better and see themselves more written out in word. But he is just such an amazing person. I am so inspired by him. And I think the difference between him and Adam's book is Adam the whole time is aiming for the Olympics. Jonathan didn't know he was going to get on Queer Eye, so the first part of his life is more of just what he was doing at the time, working in hair, and then he gets onto Queer Eye and kind of ties it all together. But just a little less cohesive than Adam's was, but really funny, really enjoyable. So overall, I would also recommend his book, especially if you're a fan of the show. Speaking of television shows, the next book I'm going to discuss is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. So if I have any Gilmore Girl fans out there, or I know she was also in Parenthood, but really I am a massive Gilmore Girls fan. I didn't actually watch all of Gilmore Girls until I was in grad school a couple years ago. I saw it on TV growing up, but I never watched it back to back to back. And I finally sit down and watched all of it. I fell head over heels in love with Lorelai, but also Lauren Graham. And this book really made me realize how similar those two actually are. For her, I actually decided to listen to the audiobook. And normally I don't do that. Or if I do, I need the print copy in front of me. And for Adam's and Jonathan's, I just read theirs in print. But for Lauren, I decided to listen to hers. And I'm actually really glad I did. She has such a soothing voice. Her narrative style is incredible. And she just, and I mean this as a compliment, but she sounds like anyone's mom. Like the way she talks to you is just, it just warms your heart and you just love getting to know her. And I was listening to it while I was cleaning my house, and eventually I actually laid down on my couch and I fell asleep. And for her to have a soothing enough voice to just rock me to sleep was just amazing. So I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. And again, getting to know her no matter what is worthwhile, but especially if you're a fan of Gilmore Girls, I cannot recommend this book enough. And I actually really, really stress to listen to the audio. I think it's great. So my next 2 books are going to be more political figures, just a heads up. So the next book is Shortest Way Home by Pete Buttigieg, who just had a pretty overall successful candidacy for president, though he did drop out a couple months ago. It was more successful than anyone thought it was going to be. Up until a little over a year ago, he was kind of just a mayor of an Indiana town, South Bend, Indiana. And all of a sudden, he announced he was running for president, and he got quite a following. And it was during that I decided to read this book so I could find out a little bit more about him. I am openly gay, I am married, and so it was just cool to see someone openly gay running for president, something that I never thought I would see until I was at least much older in life. And I enjoyed learning about him. I really, really loved the part where he meets his now husband Chasten and writes about falling in love. Made me tear up a lot. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think the only reason it wasn't higher is because you're reading more about someone just growing up, but you don't hear about the campaign trail. And I feel like now if he goes back and he writes another memoir or updates this one and he talks about his time on the campaign trail, it would easily go up to 4, 4.5, or even a 5-star book. It was more about getting to know someone who we know what they're doing now, but it was before they started, if that makes sense. But still fascinating to learn about a brilliant man. I enjoyed getting to know what kind of person he was, and I think he has a bright future no matter what he chooses to do in politics, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So the last one I want to talk about, another political figure, is Michelle Obama, Becoming. And I absolutely loved this book. I have always looked up to Michelle Obama. I think aside from politics, she is a wonderful example for young people. She is joyous, she is energetic, she is intelligent, she is talented, she is driven, and she's grounded. And that's what I got from reading this book. I learned even more about someone who I already thought I knew a lot about. I loved hearing about her childhood. She's a natural born storyteller, and even when it's about herself, she makes you sympathize with her, even though none of us can almost actually relate to her, because we've never been in the White House or a first lady. And I just remember one chapter where she's talking about after meeting Barack Obama and having young kids and trying to go to the gym, and she's gaining more traction and publicity, and she doesn't know what to do with it, and she's scarfing down Chipotle in a parking lot just trying to catch her breath. And so even though you can't relate to why she's stressed, you relate to her stress and those moments where you're just overwhelmed and all you want is fast food and to sit in your car and just take a moment from the world. And hearing about her and Barack's marriage was really inspiring. I'm newly married, and so hearing what they do to keep their marriage alive, I found was really valuable advice. That they always have date nights, their communication skills, and how they resolve conflict. Also, that they're very open about going to therapy, I think is so important. And really, the only reason why I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars and it didn't get a 5 is just she writes all the way through the White House, and right after the White House ends, the book ends. And I wanted just a little bit more about what her life is like now, a little bit maybe more reflection, and maybe some of her further hopes for the country. She includes all of those things that I just mentioned, but just the fact that it ends as sharply as it did, I was a little shocked by. I thought there was going to be more. But she's given us enough is the bottom line. She never wanted to be in politics, and the fact that she carried herself with as much grace as she did, she's just such an inspiration. And so again, no matter what your politics are, I think reading her book is worthwhile, and just getting to understand her a little bit more is absolutely worth it to do. All right, guys, so those are the 5 memoirs I wanted to talk about. I hope that any of them stuck out to you, if not all 5. Again, I highly recommend checking them out from your local library in any way you can, or buying them from a local bookstore or Amazon when you get the chance. And so I will keep doing book reviews more in the future. Again, if you want to look at my Goodreads, it's Andrew Hutchinson to see what I'm reading or what I've rated things. Again, my ratings are going to be a little bit different because Goodreads doesn't allow you to do 0.5, so that's why you might see some of them and wonder why they look a little different from what I've actually rated them or said on this video. I'm really bad at outros, so I'm just going to say goodbye. Thank you for watching this video. Oh, and feel free to like and subscribe and comment down below if you have any differing opinions about these books, or whether you agree with me or what you thought about them as well. So no matter what, thank you so much for watching and stopping by my channel, and have a good one. Bye.